Hello, it's Tammy again with Cheers to Creativity. I had somebody ask me about my Christmas trees or how I paint Christmas trees in, it was a comment on one of the lives last night or the night before, I've lost track. And so I thought I would just come on and talk really briefly and show you, little critter, my tap trees. So this is a white tap tree on a block of reclaimed wood, and whether I'm doing them on wood or on slate or on a window, see if I can show you maybe we can show you the window in the back. Here's one done in a bottle, and you see there's a Christmas tree in that truck back there, and then if I scan over there, there's even a Christmas tree on that pillow. So whatever I'm doing them on, it doesn't really matter. The technique is basically the same. So I thought I would show you. And the fun thing about them is you will learn your own pressure for your brush, and that will kind of determine how fluffy your trees get. This isn't the only way to paint a tree, by no means. It's just a way that I have found to be pretty successful for me. Excuse me. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways. I'm going to put you down, and if you pop on, say hi. Let me know you're here. It's always helpful. Let me see if I can do this the right way. And let's just make sure we are the right way by, yep. So if you want to share this or sprinkle this, that would be awesome. Okay, this is just a piece of scrap paper or cardstock. Thank you. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to end up just using some palette paper. So I'm going to start with just showing you with white. Okay. First, it's showing you just plain white paint. The size of your brush will determine the size of your tree. So if I start with this size, and I'm going to load my brush by pulling it out on both sides of my brush. So I'm pulling from my puddle out. White on white is really hard to see, I know. Okay. Then in this case, I'm going to use this straight up and down, and I'm going to tap a line for as tall as I want my tree. Then I'm going to tap out this way. I'm going to turn my brush, tap that way, turn my brush, and go back and forth. Harder I push down, the fluffier it's going to get. And then I'm going to have to come back in and fill in any areas that might need a little more paint or just need to be a little fuller. But the idea here is I'm flipping my brush back and forth. I'm going to try to do it this way. I don't know if this is going to be successful, so I'm just going to try. So this is my line that would come out. No, my hand's still in the way. Never mind, scratch that idea. Okay, that's okay. But so that's with this size brush, okay? Let me just show you with a slightly smaller brush. Do the same thing. I'm pulling my paint out on both sides of my brush. So I have a nice, fairly nice chisel on my brush. So this one right next to it. I'm going to tap it up as tall as I want it to be. And I'm just going to flip my hand back and forth. So I'm tapping. The reason I do the back and forth instead of tapping on one side and tapping on all the other side is for me, they just look more realistic this way. Okay, I'll show you what I mean in just a second here. I'm gonna go back and fill in a little more. Doesn't mean I don't go back and tap on one side. But if I come in and go straight up and then do all this, it's just harder for me to match that up than if I'm switching back and forth at the same time. They don't look bad, but it's just easier for me to flip back and forth that way. All right, I'm just gonna, oh no, I have no water. I have wine. I don't think I want to rinse my brush in wine. But I have a baby wipe. So I'm just gonna wipe my brush off with a baby wipe. Don't recommend this. I'm getting notice I have a low battery, so I might need to grab a plug. I think I can do that pretty easily. If you follow me at all, you may have seen me more than once today. I have been on, this is number 3 time, but that's okay. Yay, we're not plugged in. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you with a green. I'm just gonna need to change papers because paper is green. So we'll use orange just to show you. Okay, so I'm gonna grab a dark green. This is actually a gloss paint. Grab one of those brushes I just had in my hot little hand that I set down somewhere. Oh my goodness, I'm a hot mess. I truly am a bit of a mess today, but that's okay. We'll make it all work. So here's that brush I just got cleaned out. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna pull this paint, green paint now, on both sides of my brush, and tap, 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 and then just back and forth, just switching my brush this way, then turning that way, this way, then that way. Okay, that's a little airier tree. Oh, my friend from Ireland is watching again. Yay! I am gonna get there someday. I truly am. This is a wine glass that I've wiped off with rubbing alcohol. This is enamel paint, so I can actually show you on here. Glass is just a little more slippery, so you just might need to be a little more careful. That's not the right word. Just might need to watch how it's coming off your brush. You might need to come back and add more than one layer depending on how dark it shows up. Let's just get one little tree on here and I'll show you, okay? I'm making this tree very narrow at the bottom. Oops. Kind of like most painting, 2 layers is better than 1 thick layer. I'm not going to worry too much about this because I can promise you this is probably going to come off. I'm not going to keep this. It's really hard to see that, okay? It is hard to see that. I thought it'd be easier, okay. But the idea was to show you this tree. Tap, 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 tap. If I want it just to be a green tree, same brush. I'm using a flat brush. It doesn't have to be a super perfect brush, but you do want to be able to pull your edges together to be somewhat of a chisel edge. Okay. So there is our green tree on an orange background. Let me turn you down a little more, okay? A fun thing to do for winter trees is if you start with your green, pick up a little bit of white on the corner of your brush, white going up, tap, and then just keep the white going out. So white out, white out, white out, white out. I'm flipping my brush in my hand. And if I need to go back and reload, a little green, a little white. Always keeping my white toward the outside of my branches. So there is we're gonna call that a loose tree. I can come back in the same tree and just tap in those areas that are a little vacant, switching my brush back and forth, and it gets to be more of a fluffy fir tree. So these I'm doing with about an 8 flat. Let me see if I do. Grabbing a little enamel white paint too. So I've got the enamel green paint on my brush. I'm going to pick up a little enamel white just on the corner. And I'm going to go right back over that tree I just did. So I'm going to tap up, tap out. Keeping my white on the outside, flipping my brush. But then you have a little more of a wintry looking tree. Wipe that off. I'm going to do one more with the green and the white. Do it over here. Tap. I'm twisting the brush in my hand and just tapping, tapping, tapping. I'm a bad influence. Oh no, I can barely see the comment. I can't wait to find out I'm a bad influence. I don't mean to be a bad influence. I'm just trying to help you guys explore some painting tips and hopefully help you find things that work well for you. Oh no. Okay. I'm filling this in. And just like in nature, no two trees are alike and no two trees are perfect. Okay? So in this particular tree situation, I would go back with straight white paint underneath them and just make them be in snow, okay? Boy, that's really hard to see. I'm really sorry. I'm going to go back to our paper, I believe. I do wish it would pop up on my screen so I could see how I'm being in a bad influence. Okay, sharpen stencil. Yes, I just did my essential stencils that came, and I couldn't wait to play before I even went upstairs to wash out brushes from another task. This was the very first thing I did from the stencils that I just unwrapped, and I kind of used my nails as a bit of a influence, I guess. And so I did my 3 pink pumpkins that I talked about on the live that I did for the essential stencil opening, and then just added hope and glitter on this little one and made the top one look a little more like a leopard. Has nothing to do with trees, but hey, somebody asked. Okay, so I've got on here, if I showed you here, I'm going to do a bigger tree. Let's go with a big brush. I need a little more paint. So what I'm showing you, I'm doing a rather small, so things you could probably think of doing on a bottle. Here's, oops, the white tree. And then I just added some stick trees to them too, but here's different sizes. But you can do this with a really large brush too and do it as big as you want, even like for on a porch leaner. So let's say I want a tree about this big. Let's move over here a little bit. I'm going to tap them up. I'm going to go ahead and pick up a little bit of white just so you see them a little more. I'm going to tap, turn my brush around, tap, so my white's out, and then just keep working up. Now, a lot of people prefer to go from the top down. Just working bottom up works better for me. It's not the only way to do it. I do not pretend that the way I do things is the only way. I try to show you why it works for me, what works for me, and hopefully playing around, you'll find what works for you. So as I'm going up on this, I'm trying to keep my pressure, whatever it is. If I'm really pushing down, it gets really fuzzy. But then I want to make sure I'm doing that all the way up so they are consistent. If I'm being light and airy, I want to be light and airy on both sides, all the way up. I can always come back and fill in or even out if I happen to have a tree like this particular one right now that looks like somebody took a chainsaw to the middle of it. That's not generally the idea I want of my trees. So I've got a bigger tree. I want to show you a little bit. So I've got my brush loaded. I'm going to try, this is very light. And this is really pushing down. Just so you have an idea of the difference that those branches take shape on. The harder you push, the more fluffy they're going to be, the more full they're going to be. Okay, so those are the green and the white. Again, I don't have my water, and I refuse to purposely rinse brushes in wine. I have done it way too many times. So I've just cleaned my brush best I can. I'm going to go in with just the straight white again to show you. Come on. Come on, paint. I promise to clean my studio tomorrow. So before I can go live anywhere, I'm going to have to clean my studio. All right, I got some white paint out there. So I'm going to do the same thing as I just said. I'm going to pull the paint on both sides of my brush. That way I have a well-loaded brush, but I still have that skinny chisel edge. See, it's just, I just set it down, it's just very skinny. So I'm going to tap here. I'm going to tap a line up for a tree. Then I'm going to start at the base, and I'm tapping, tap, 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 tap. I'm twisting my brush, tapping the other way. Would I have to do that with this one? No, but this way at least my brush is going the direction I want. The harder I push down, if I want them to look like they're being a little droopy, I can do that too. Need more paint. When I show you things on paper, it sucks up paint differently than if I'm doing it on a prepped surface like a piece of wood that I base coated or canvas. Just the nature of the material. But it's always great to practice on different materials so you get a feel for how your paint is going to react, not only on the surface you have, but with the technique you are playing with. And this being a little tappy stuff. And yes, for those of you who know me at all, I do often add glitter to my trees, either by going in and just tapping the glitter on like I tap the branches, or just kind of dabbing some on with like a round brush. Okay, so there you've seen the white tap trees, the plain green tap tree, and the green and white. Now, I don't know if you've noticed or not, but there's a lot of extra colors happening in trees these days. Like right now, it's kind of the rage for Halloween to have these brush type trees in colors like purple and orange and black. So you could easily take black, let's do black, a little black on my plate, doing the same thing. Pulling my paint, okay? Where should we do it? I'm running about right here. We'll tap up a black center, and it's not a perfect brush, so this is not a perfect line. It's kind of fuzzy. I'm gonna try to do this hanging. I don't know if I can do this. So I'm gonna tap out, turn my brush, tap out, and then just do that tapping all the way up until your tree is as full and or fluffy as you want. If you want it to be more of a, what are those called? Feather trees? Yeah, feather trees are ones that, let's finish this one first. As I was saying with the Halloween ones, I'm seeing a lot of these colored, more Halloween colored trees that are very glittery. So you could do a black tree and then add glitter. A feather tree really has a good center and then tends to be more straight across. It gets smaller as you go up. I'm gonna have to get this one bigger so you can see the something more in that order. That's a very bad feather tree, but Hopefully you get the idea. But really for my tap trees, I'm going up kind of at a V, doing one side of the V, then the other side, and then just making it get narrower as it gets to the top. Just to show you, here's my center again. You can start at the top, be small, and then get bigger as you go down. It's just not as I can talk. I don't find this way to be as successful for my hand and brush together as I do starting at the bottom and going up. It doesn't mean it's wrong. Doesn't mean that you might find it more easy to do that way. I think I really struggle with the top of the tree doing it this way, where I'm able to control. I'm getting very muddied too. So that's my going down. If I do the same tree next to it, going up, kind of with that V, I just find my trees to look a little better to me. It's a personal preference. And again, the way I do things is not the end all, the end all. I just like to give you ideas of things that work for me. Here's one that really going to need to go back and shape it up a little bit. And you can always come back and add in some more stick-like trees for some variation. All right, I'm going to flip this up. I am really upside down. So I just wanted to show you a couple quick trees. They're fun to practice. I almost always practice them before I go to do a surface like this, just because that way I get a feel for the way I paint a tree today is not the way I'm going to paint it tomorrow. It's all in how much paint you have in your brush, how much pressure you're putting down. And there are days I'm mad at the world, and my trees are pretty darn fluffy, I gotta tell you. Even if I want them to be cute and narrow, they just end up, yeah, okay. It doesn't happen often. And about the time I really, really want a fluffy tree, I just can't get into pushing hard enough. So those are just things you practice and you make them work. The same thing works for doing just branches. You know, if you just want, let me show you real quick. So if I just want to, this is my branch, I might just want a branch that has some evergreen coming off of it. And it doesn't always have to be a full tree, but it's the same tap, tap, tap. And you can end up getting kind of that fluffy tree kind of thing. All right, guys, I promise that's it for today. My sweet boy is about to come home, and I think I'm going to take the quick half hour I have to take my girls, my puppies, for a walk, and then go sit down and figure out what I'm going to do for my project on Friday. Hey, you guys have a great night, and we will see you very soon.